She's late. Not late to the wedding rehearsal, not late to hair and makeup, late. And in that quiet hotel room in Colombia, while production assistants pretended to adjust lighting and the boom mic hovered just inches above their breaking point, Luke realized the fairy tale ending he sold to his family back in the States might be collapsing before the vows were even written. I know what you're thinking. TLC loves a pregnancy scare storyline. It's classic 90-day tension. But listen to this. This wasn't just a storyline. This was the moment where the entire power dynamic between Luke and Madeleine flipped, and TLC barely scratched the surface. Because this wedding wasn't just about love. It was about control, image, and the fragile illusion of the 90-day dream. On 90 Day Fiancé the other way, we've seen Americans pack up their lives and move overseas for love. But Luke didn't just move countries. He moved into a situation he thought he could manage. Younger fiancé, different culture, financial provider, the hero. But here's the part TLC cameras didn't show. Before we even get to the bachelor party disaster, before the pregnancy test, before the wedding dress tears, there were already red flags quietly stacking up like unopened production envelopes. Luke met Madeleine online. Younger, charismatic, confident in a way that both fascinated and intimidated him. He loved telling people he was starting over. And when he told his friends he was moving abroad for love, it sounded romantic, brave even. But fans on Reddit immediately clocked something else. Power imbalance, age gap, money control. And if you've been watching this franchise long enough, you know that's never just background noise. We've seen it before on 90 Day Fiancé, the American partner thinking financial stability equals emotional leverage, the foreign partner trying to secure security in a system stacked against them. But Luke didn't think he was that guy, at least not on camera. Fast forward to the bachelor party. What TLC showed was inappropriate behavior. What they didn't fully unpack was the humiliation. Strippers, flirting that went way beyond harmless, friends egging him on, that smirk he gave the camera like it's just a party. But this is where the 90-day dream quietly fell apart, because Madeleine saw it. And she didn't react like the stereotypical jealous fiancé TLC sometimes edits women into. She reacted with something colder, disappointment. And fans on Twitter, X, were split. Half said, it's just a bachelor party, relax. The other half said, if he acts like this before marriage, imagine after. But here's the detail that blew up on the 90 Day Fiancé subreddit. Someone claimed that clips circulating on Instagram showed even more footage from that night than what aired. Allegedly, Luke crossed boundaries that were edited down for time. Now, we can't confirm everything that floats around Reddit, but the reaction? Real, explosive. And Madeleine? She didn't yell. She withdrew. Which, if you've watched this franchise long enough, is way more dangerous, because silence on this show is never peace. It's strategy. And this is the moment, about 2 months before the wedding, where everything shifted. If you're watching this right now and you care about the real stories behind these couples, not just what TLC packages in 42 minutes, you already know this channel is different. We don't just recap, we dig. So if you want to be part of this little community of 90-day truth seekers who actually pay attention to the details production hopes you miss, you know what to do. Now, let's talk about the pregnancy scare. Because this wasn't just, oops, I'm late. This was panic. For Madeleine, it meant her entire life trajectory could change overnight. For Luke, it meant financial responsibility in a country where he was already stretching his savings thin. Remember, he relocated. He left stability behind. The K-1 visa process didn't apply here in the traditional way because this was the other way. He was the one adjusting status, navigating bureaucracy in her home country. That means fewer legal protections, less control than the American partner usually has. And here's where it gets complicated. On camera, Luke tried to appear supportive, calm, rational, but multiple fans pointed out the micro-expressions, the clenched jaw, the immediate questions about timing, the way he pivoted to logistics instead of emotion. I know what you're thinking, that's just stress. Maybe, or maybe it revealed something deeper, that Luke loved the idea of Madeleine, but wasn't fully prepared for the reality of building a life with her. And here's a detail that didn't make the final cut but circulated in fan discussions. During filming, there were reportedly multiple off-camera arguments about money, about expectations, about who would work and when. Because love is cute on Instagram, but rent isn't. And this wedding, it wasn't cheap. Dress fittings, venue deposits, family expectations, cultural traditions Luke barely understood. And every time the budget came up, fans noticed Madeleine's tone changed. Not greed, fear. Because for her, marriage wasn't just romantic. It was stability, protection, legitimacy. Meanwhile, Luke's friends back home were still joking about his wild bachelor night like it was harmless. But it wasn't harmless to her. It chipped away at trust. And trust is the currency of every 90-day couple. Let's be real. TLC thrives on chaos, but the most dangerous drama is the quiet kind, the unresolved kind, the kind that resurfaces during vows. And that's exactly what happened. Wedding week. Tension so thick you could feel it through the screen. Madeleine trying on her dress, looking in the mirror, and instead of glowing, she looked uncertain. This is where the 90-day dream quietly fractured again. Because a wedding should feel like a celebration, but theirs felt like a test. On X, fans started speculating, does she actually want this? Is he in over his head? Are they just staying together for the cameras? And then came the pregnancy test result. Negative. Relief, right? Not exactly, because sometimes a negative test doesn't remove pressure, it amplifies the underlying cracks. The relief Luke showed was noticeable, almost too noticeable, and Madeleine clocked it. I know what you're thinking. Of course he'd be relieved. They're not ready. But here's the thing. When your partner's relief feels stronger than your connection, it leaves a mark. And this is the emotional cost the show rarely spells out. The constant uncertainty, the visa conversations, the financial strain, the public scrutiny. And let's talk about scrutiny. The age gap discourse exploded online. Viewers debated whether Luke's dynamic with Madeleine felt protective or possessive, empowering or controlling. Some fans defended him fiercely. Others compared the situation to past controversial couples in the franchise. Because 90-day viewers have long memories. We remember patterns. We remember warning signs. And we've seen weddings that looked beautiful on screen collapse within months off-screen. So when Luke stood there on his wedding day, adjusting his suit, trying to look confident, it wasn't just about vows. It was about whether this relationship could survive reality. Madeleine walking down the aisle should have been the fairy tale moment, and visually, it was stunning, but emotionally, fragile. There's a split second, and if you rewatch the episode, you'll catch it, where she hesitates before smiling at him. It's subtle, but it's there, and fans noticed. Reddit threads dissected that frame like it was a true crime documentary. Did you see her face? She doesn't look happy. He looks nervous. And this is why this couple became more polarizing than TLC probably expected. Because their issues weren't explosive screaming matches. They were quieter, more psychological, and in some ways, more unsettling. Luke promised security. Madeleine promised commitment. But promises on this franchise come with footnotes, because after the wedding, there's no production team buffering your arguments, no dramatic music, no cliffhanger edit, just reality. And if you followed post-episode interviews and social media lives, you know the tension didn't magically disappear after I Do. There were cryptic Instagram stories, deleted photos, comments turned on and back on. Fans speculated about breakups, reconciliations, PR strategy. But here's the bigger question. Was this wedding about love or about proving something? Proving to his friends that he could pull off a younger international relationship? Proving to her family he was serious? Proving to viewers that the bachelor party didn't define him? And this is where it gets uncomfortable, because sometimes on 90 Day Fiancé the other way, the wedding isn't the climax, it's the compromise. The moment both people decide, we've already invested this much, let's go through with it. That doesn't mean they don't love each other, but love under pressure behaves differently. And I keep coming back to that hotel room, the pregnancy scare, the silence after the negative result. That was the real turning point.